TIFU by having an itchy butt for 11 months, by user Keiko 2002. I had a vasectomy in January of 2024. A few days after the procedure, my butt started itching uncomfortably and unceasingly. At first, I thought it was a side effect of the procedure. Maybe I was reacting to the bandages. Maybe it was the non-stop sitting as I recovered. Or, maybe I itched because I didn't shower for a few days post-OP. But, I recovered and got back into my normal routine and the itching continued. I tried everything, short of consulting my doctor. It's embarrassing to tell people your butt itches. I started showering twice daily. I outfitted all of my toilets with bidets. I even tried a few different types of creams and ointments. Nothing worked. I googled my symptoms and got a variety of results. Some sites suggested I might have hemorrhoids, pinworms, or some other butt-related ailment. One helpful forum simply said this happens when you turn 40. Your butt starts itching. You just have to deal with it. I resigned myself to having an itchy butt for the rest of my life. Then over the holidays, 11 months into my affliction, I was scratching my itchy unmentionables and I had a thought. When I had my vasectomy, I followed my doctor's instructions and wore some tight briefs for a few days. Those briefs became part of my laundry cycle and I wore them regularly. Looking at their tag, they were 20% spandex. Turns out, spandex is a pretty common allergy. I threw out the briefs and the itching stopped within a few days. I'm now itch-free and I'm never wearing spandex again. I was resigned to the idea that I was going to have an itchy butt for the rest of my life, and now I can live a clear, itch-free life again. TLDR, my butt was itchy for 11 months. Turns out, I'm sensitive to spandex. TIFU by forgetting to mute myself during a virtual meeting, and revealing my deep-seated hatred for office buzzwords, by user Techco Live. This happened approximately 36 minutes ago, and my embarrassment is fresher than the questionable sushi I ate last night. I was in a virtual meeting with my boss and a few bigwigs from corporate. Everyone was tossing around phrases like circle back, low-hanging fruit, synergy, and my personal favorite, make it pop. Little did I know, I was not muted. So while the rest of the team diligently nodded, I loudly muttered, to my cat, ironically, if I hear let's pivot one more time, I'm gonna pivot straight into another dimension. My boss went quiet. The bigwig from corporate started chuckling. And I realized everyone had, in fact, heard my borderline meltdown. Everyone tried to play it off politely, but I'm pretty sure I just blacklisted myself from any future synergistic pivoting. Moral of the story? Always double-check the mute button, folks. TLDR, forgot my mic was on during a virtual meeting and accidentally ranted about how much I despise corporate buzzwords. Everyone heard, including my boss and higher UPS, and now I'm mortified. TIFU by creating an alter ego as a bit, and this alter ego now shows up on my credit report and background check, by user Queeve10. So, technically was not today, but today was the day I realized how extensive the issue is. To back up about 10 years, I created this fake persona as a joke to fuck with my boss at the time who had a good sense of humor but insanely gullible. He was frantically trying to hire for a sales position and wasn't getting any applicants and said I'd hire about anyone right now, so I said okay. I created this ridiculously outlandish but believable resume with a bunch of funny titles and job responsibilities for this southern redneck named Ricky, who was the assistant to the VP of local janitorial operations at Chuck E. Cheese and was a semi-retired rock star and an ex-pit stop mechanic for Dale back in the day. I created a whole crazy backstory on a cover letter and applied for the job but made it sound almost believable. I even went as far as to trim my beard down to a Hulk Hogan stache, and I have this mullet wig I used for a Joe Dirt costume in middle school, and sent him an email a few days after applying with a really cringe candid headshot my girlfriend at the time took and sent it to him. In the emails, told him I was gonna roll up to the office soon on the spot for an interview because he would have been stupid not to hire me. He had no idea it was me, so I started fucking with him even more and calling his office phone doing my deep southern accent. Not hard because I grew up in the South and have an accent in me, so I basically drop my voice an octave and do a Blake Shelton impression, haha, and telling him I was ready to work and he was mildly concerned this weirdo was going to show up one day. I told absolutely nobody I was doing this and was dying hearing him talk about this weird dude who keeps calling him. Then, on a Friday before a holiday, I came into the office with the wig, stache, jean jacket, my boots, and an Ozzy Osbourne shirt I found at Goodwill and kept in character for most of the day. Best work day ever, haha. The rest of the company found out about this and thought it was the funniest thing ever, as did my friends and family, so it became kind of a bit and evolved into this redneck alter ego thing. We had this office that was repurposed as a storage room nobody went into, and they put a nameplate on the door for Ricky, and from what I understand that was Ricky's office for several years even after I left. From there I created a Facebook page, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube etc. over a period of several years. I'd just post stupid shit here and there like crazy redneck stories he had in horrendous grammar, random YouTube videos, and just random stuff. It's become like a lore at this point, and I've just kept it going because I've had fun with it. My friends will contact me and say, "What's ole slick Rick been getting into these days?" And I got really proficient at Photoshop, so I'd put him into pictures and create a funny backstory as to how he got there. He will absolutely be in attendance front row the inauguration in a few days somehow, and I've put out a couple songs in his voice where I played the guitar intentionally shitty and did a diss track a few months ago. I literally learned how to play guitar decently so I could intentionally do it poorly. It has been really a good way for me to connect with a lot of my friends in different places I don't see often anymore, and makes me happy. I know it makes them smile. It got to a point where it started to overlap, and I let the hillbilly hell-raising energy carry over into my daily life a bit and can flip the accent on and off, haha. I work as a sales director leadership position at a software company now that's pretty high stress sometimes, so it's almost like an outlet where I can tune down my IQ a lot and just do stupid shit and not take life so serious. Nothing wrong with bringing a little laughter into people's lives, and I still think it's hilarious making stuff up for it. His slogan is "Moppin' floors, drinkin' Coors." I bought a C8 Corvette a few years ago and really played into the trailer park Ferrari jokes, haha. But it makes me really happy this stupid ass bit brings laughter to the lives of people I care about a decade later, and I literally cackle when I create stupid ass scenarios and posts for him. I'll go look through them sometimes and I'm like, how the fuck did I even come up with that? Anyways, I started using his namesake for random things, burner emails, things I don't want to sign up for using my name, referrals for services, etc. Basically I signed him up for everything I didn't want to, or as an extra account legally that doesn't require a social security number. Ole Ricky has a shit ton of Starbucks rewards, that's for damn sure, lol. This was all fun and games until today. My wife and I are currently trying to sell our current home, and we put in an offer that was accepted this morning. When working with the lender today, I have a credit monitoring program, and I called and asked a few verification questions since I have my credit, and one of them came up and asked for known associates, and Ricky, last name, came up, and I was like, what? After looking at my credit report, when my wife and I got married 2 years ago, we ended up renting out her home to this really kind older gentleman who still lives there. However, on not only my credit report but my wife's, it shows Ricky as the tenant and a known associate on background checks and searches. It also shows him as a CO tenant at a corporate apartment I rented 5 years ago at every credit agency. He apparently even shows up in his own background checks minus a social. I'm assuming this is due to data mining shit, but this is specifically problematic because when I brought this up to our lender and said, that's a problem as we intend to keep the rental, somehow, our actual tenant doesn't even show up for them and they just see Ricky. That was very difficult to articulate. Ricky is someone who doesn't exist, but when have an actual renter who does exist but doesn't show up as a tenant other than the lease documents we have. TLDR, I made an alter ego as a joke 10 years ago and made it a running bit and started using his namesake for extra rewards accounts and things. Now he shows as a tenant on my wife and I's credit reports and will potentially prevent us from buying our dream home. TIFU by telling my partner I was pregnant, by user Glaufturdark. I, 21F, have been in a relationship with my very beautiful lovely girlfriend, 20F, for 4.5 years, and I love her dearly. Thing we've agreed on since the beginning was neither of us, adamantly, wanted kids. For storytelling purposes, she's trans and hasn't had GRS. I have PCOS, and can often go months without bleeding. Currently, I have gone almost 6 months without a single period. Insane, right? We don't really do penetrative sex, so pregnancy isn't really something I'm too worried about, but my doctors are very useless, and every time I've asked for some kind of treatment to help with PCOS symptoms, they've basically just told me to do a pregnancy test if I'm not bleeding, even though I tell them there's not chance of it. What doesn't help as well is I'm extremely paranoid and prone to nightmares about SA, so if I go a few months without a bleed, I do a pregnancy test partly to satisfy my paranoia, and partly so if I go back to the doctor for help, I can have AC, I did the dumb test and I'm not pregnant. Anyway, I used a different brand than normal this time around, and to my absolute horror, a strong, blue line appeared. I was horrified. Shaking, crying. I felt like my whole world ended and I wanted to just vomit. I had so many "how could this have happened" thoughts and was imagining the horror on everyone's faces when I told them my parents, my peers who don't even know my GF is trans, so they'd have questions, and more imminently, how do I tell my partner? It was 1 AM, and I spammed her with messages telling her to call me ASAP. She very sleepily calls me and asks what's wrong, and I shakily tell her I'm pregnant. We're both bolt awake and panicking, wondering how in the hell this happened. I'm inconsolable. And then I check the picture again. There's 2 boxes. Test very clearly indicated that a line in both the big box and the small box means pregnancy. One line in the little box is just the control zone. There wasn't even a hint of a line on the larger box. I was not even a little pregnant thiog. Cue my poor GF having to comfort me for the next half an hour as I slowly stopped shaking, and many embarrassed apologies from me about fucking up this hard lol. This is still a better problem to have than a baby thiog, lol. Edit, I said in paragraph 1 that she is trans. Next person who comments her how do you get preg if both girls is getting put in timeout. Dr. I incorrectly told my GF I was pregnant because I can't fucking read. Whoops. TIFU by laughing when my mom wanted me to use my autism card to turn down a military recruiter, by user Phoenix Galaxy. My mom is in the military. I've seen her go from seeing her happy to a consistent level of annoyed every day. Seeing how she now has a permanent injury thanks to a doctor ignoring her no trainee specifications made me not want to join, and she knows this and encourages me not to join under no circumstances. Thanks to her military benefits I will go to college almost fully paid. Lately she's been encouraging me to go to college, so I basically picked one community college that was close and one culinary college that was in another date by accident. At some point a military recruiter called my mom asking for me, and she said something to the effect of, I don't think he wants to do that, but I won't speak for him. She then called me over and I was caught off guard, so I'm stammering over my words. No matter what I say he's trying to get me to go. I say I have bad vision. Hey man, me too, I'm more interested in culinary, we have kitchens in here. I don't have a lot of stamina, don't worry we can train for that. My mom whispered to say that I had asthma. Like a dumbass I didn't get the hint and didn't lie. So my mom whispered in my ear to say tell them about your autism. This shit broke me and I started trying laughing silently. Somehow we got this dude to hang up and he said he'll call you in a few months. My mom asked me why I didn't tell them about her being my reason not to join or my autism, which in turn would have disqualified me from being picked. I apologized and said I was caught off guard and overwhelmed. Pulling the autism card never occurred to me since I don't use it. A long lecture about growing up and how I'm almost a man later, and here we are. She said she won't always be able to help me. TLDR, military recruiters called my mom to get me to enlist but was so persistent that my mom wanted me to pull my autism card to disqualify me from being picked. I was so shocked I started laughing and ended up aggravating my mom.